Okay, sorry about the delay, guys. Slight overrun. This laptop not knowing what PowerPoint is. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris. Welcome to the Dark Horse panel, or also known as the Side Characters panel. This is basically just an example of side characters in your favourite anime, manga, etc. Can be quite well known, perhaps even eclipse the popularity of the main characters, and just different examples of how it works in favour and not so much. Now, as we're already a bit late, I'm going to have to go very fast. This was actually supposed to be 2 hours, then it told me it was an hour, and now I've got 45 minutes. Bugger. Right, so I'm going to go as quickly as possible. So forgive me for going. So here we go. Introductions. Panels explaining about how the popularity of minor side party characters in anime can eclipse leads, as I just mentioned. And I'll give you examples of both popular shows and more obscure ones, and why it occurs and how it affects their status. They, for example, could become a more prominent romance interest for the lead, or they become more badass in the show, etc., etc. There you go. Okay, it's also giving an example from a lesser known shows, as I said. How this difference from character not popular was shown a lot due to the creators being fans of them. So there's going to be a few examples of what are called the creator's pet. So basically when characters are still shoved in your faces, but they're not considered dark horses because they're not popular with the fans, but the creators still throw them into every single scenario you can think of. Okay, here's a good example of a Western one. Harley Quinn from Batman. Okay, it's basically not canon in the comics. If anyone was a fan of the early 90s animated series, then she debuted in that. Since then, she's actually not only become psychic to perhaps the most popular villain of Batman, in general. It's also got her own comic book series and has teamed up with Poison Ivy and Catwoman in the side series, as well as other options. But we are talking about anime, but we're going to give you examples of other dark horses outside of anime. I'm using the example TV tropes known as the ensemble dark horse. Is anyone familiar with the term? Yeah. All right. Basically, if anyone uses TV tropes, look for that because there's a lot of information on there. But basically, it's just someone who's in a group or party who first is just along for the ride, held by a lead or main character. However, sometimes these characters can become unexpectedly popular with the fan base for whatever reason. 3 examples here from Game of Thrones. We have Hodor. Yes, Hodor. He says nothing, yet he's amazingly popular with the fan voice, apart from one word. And he carries stuff. But he's still extremely popular. We have Auron from Final Fantasy X. Right? Sorry, I didn't know why I played the Final Fantasy games. I remember, because again, he was basically kind of a spirit guidance character, but he was considered, because he was so badass compared to Tidus, he kind of eclipsed the main popularity in terms of the polls, like a landslide. And then he wasn't in 10-2, people cried. The last one is, of course, Derpy Hooves from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, who basically does nothing, but because of her incredibly unique design, it's kind of like a running game of each episode trying to find the Derpy Hooves. She's almost as popular as the main characters, and she has said 2 lines, and that was incredibly controversial. But she still remains beloved by the Brony fan base. So, let's quickly explain how this works in there. So as I said, the good ones, forgive my wall of text. The creators can make use of the popularity and use it to their advantage, as I said, making the characters more integral to the plot. I said Harley Quinn's an example, quirkiness for the most part, but then, as I said, got more relationships with characters like Poison Ivy and Catwoman. On the flip side, it can also lead to overkill. Now, anyone familiar with the Mary Sue dynamic? Yeah. This is what I said earlier about creators' pet. This can also lead to this sort of thing, that this character in question can become invincible and actually remove the likability. Give a couple examples. One I mentioned is Ogi from Code Geass. Anyone familiar? Yeah, basically he was really low liked at the start of the season because he was basically the voice of reason in the midst of the Britannias, and then all of a sudden he got a love interest and he trying in between the two sides, and then he turned into a complete I know everything better than you type character. So he got more screen time, but what made him popular, they got rid of it, and he basically became what's more the Scrappy, as it's used. If anyone's familiar with that term, it's basically reference to Scrappy Doo as the most hated character in the show.
I like Scrappy Doo.
Yes, we shoot him. Okay, I've already mentioned a few Western examples. There's a couple more here. In this case, we've got Disney. I cosplayed as Kronk last night, so that's an example. I was hoping to do it again, but the wig killed me. So we've got Kronk here and Dory from Finding Nemo, who I believe is getting the movie soon, I believe, as well. These are 2 side characters that are actually popular. I've also got a few other ones here. Timon and Pumbaa from Lion King. Tinkerbell, of course, actually has her own range now in other movies. Anastasia, one of the stepsisters from Cinderella, actually became one of the main characters in the considered one of the few good straight-to-video Disney sequels in the Cinderella 3, I think it was?
3,
yeah. So, yeah. But we are now actually going on to anime examples. Right, we're going to start with an anime, even if this is Minamicon, so we all hate it, but it's Naruto. So basically, this is an example of how it works in popular series. We've got the three main leads, Naruto, who is the energetic character, probably the most popular of the three. Sasuke is like the dark, attractive, angsty one, and a pillock. Okay? And Sakura, who is Sakura. If you know Sakura, you don't like her, that's all you need to know. Okay, so these are the three main characters. Now, I'm going to click on three what I consider Dark Horse's characters, and what people said, if these three were the main, they may have liked it more. Okay, so here we go. The equivalent of each character. First of all, in Naruto, we have Rock Lee, who's also energetic, but he's basically seen as like an underdog character because he only knows taijutsu. Well, and he's basically very energetic, very easygoing, has a great relationship with his sensei, and he's also freaking hilarious. So yeah, he's considered, because of his popularity, he actually got a spin-off series as well. On the Sasuke side, we have Shikamaru, who's again like a quiet, lazy character, but his skill is like he actually didn't basically brood on it too much. He's basically quite intelligent, and we see him develop, and this is what a Dark Horse character can work out because they develop in character development. Shikamaru is a really good example of that. Basically, he made him more likable to the fans. He was the first character to get promoted to the Chunin level, and he became a lot more significant in the Shippuden arc. The third one is Hinata, considered easily the most popular of the female characters, despite the fact she's not in it half as much as Sakura. She's got the reverse problem. She's the exact opposite of Sakura. Well, Sakura is very energetic and, yeah. We have, Hinata's kind of like the, what's the word? So she's like the shrinking violet character. She's like the like Yamato Nadesico type character. She's very quiet, very sweet. Not the strongest character, but because she was such a fan of Naruto at the beginning and every other girl was falling over Sasuke, she got a lot of popularity. She was also voiced by Nana Mizuki, who's like one of the most popular seiyuu/voice actresses at the moment, okay? This led to her actually gain a bit more popularity, and if anyone knows the ending of Naruto and the infamous last movie, she got evolved to main character. Which I'm going to quickly just do something. Yeah, so I'll quickly explain basically all this. Spoiler alert for Hinata's case. Yep, that's right, they actually get married. There we go. Sorry if I spoiled it, but Minamicon will forget it after a few beers tonight. Okay, so now we're going to explain how it turns a Dark Horse character to what we call a breakout character. Okay? They basically turn out from basically side characters something that can actually become a lot more popular, a lot more involved in the actual series. I said there are good examples, there are bad examples. I said each of the characters I mentioned with Naruto do still have their negative traits as well. There's also other characters that are popular, but I don't count because they're popular for reasons. Iruka, for example, is barely in it. He's popular because he's a popular pairing with Kakashi's a yaoi fandom. Yes, exactly. So here, I've just two examples from the manga anime Negima. Anyone familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. But for two different reasons. Because I said, it doesn't always work out they're popular, they can be popular to break out, but also still popular even if they're still not used. On the left is a character named Yue, who was a side character of the Baka Rangers, who was basically 5 real dumbasses. But she got more popular, involved, basically being like a sardonic, sarcastic character. And then she actually started learning magic from Negi. On the right, we have Zazie, who's basically not in the manga until right at the very end. But because she's got, again, a very unique look, she still remained extremely popular with the fan base, despite the fact she was not significant for like 200 chapters or something like that. So there's basically two examples of basically one can become still a Dark Horse, and one can become a breakout character in the same show. But there's a lot, I mean, a show like Negima is like over, like, how many characters? I mean, there's 31 girls. And you can have how you pick. I mean, it's like a show with Italia, for example. You got like 1 million countries. There's half of them are Dark Horses, for crying out loud. Okay, so, difference between a breakout and an extra. Right. We have DBZ here. We have Vegeta versus Chi-Chi. Right, so, Vegeta is definitely what we call a breakout character. He was supposed to die at the end of the first arc. Yeah, he was supposed to. To make it more hilarious, Krillin was supposed to kill him. Yes, Krillin. Yes. Anyone who's seen all Dragon Ball Z now will know what the F. But yes, Vegeta basically was scheduled to die in the Saiyan arc, but because of his unique look and basically he's a complete badass. Yes, he's a dick, but they like that. Yeah, dicks are usually breakout characters. So as anyone who's familiar with DBZ know, Vegeta became slightly important, just a tad, for pretty much the majority of the entire series. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, is not what I call a breakout character. She's more of a creator's pet type character. She was brought in the original Dragon Ball series as like a side one-off joke for basically, she wanted to marry Goku. This was like when they were kids. At the end of Dragon Ball, they brought her back as an adult, when Goku was also grown as an adult, and basically just threw that story, it was like a one-off joke. They said, oh, we're going to include it, and now we say Chi-Chi's now going to become main of the cast. And anyone who's seen Dragon Ball Z will probably know Chi-Chi isn't that popular. No. Basically because, basically anyone who's seen his like, relationship with Gohan and Goku is a bit of a, how should I put this, bitchy parent? I think most people agree with that? Yeah, but as I said, she was basically ascended from a minor role into a major role. She's not as important, obviously, as the Saiyans, but she's still a character that wasn't supposed to be in the majority, but Toriyama actually included her in a hell of a lot more. So Chi-Chi's more of an extended extra or a creator's pet character rather than the breakout character that Vegeta became. So there's a couple of differences. Here is the creator's pet of the ones that know they are forced on you and everyone doesn't like. How many of you are familiar with Tokyo Mew Mew? Yep. How many are familiar of the sequel, the manga sequel, Tokyo Mew Mew Alamode? There's a reason for that. Yeah, basically, most fans of Tokyo Mew Mew consider the second manga Alamode not canon. And the reason is this character, Berry Shirayuki. She basically took over from Ichigo, and they basically got rid of the powers of the five main girls, basically put them into her, and she was basically like, I'm going to do all this now. So they had the main cast for a bit, and then removed them, buried out all the powers, and no one liked them. They liked the original characters. She was basically a Mary Sue type character. Everyone loved her, and she got all the powers, but the fans didn't care. So she's a new character, splattered over the place, but she's not popular. She's not a dark horse. Just written down here, basically, sometimes a creator can increase the panel airtime of the character if they're a fan of them, or if the staff is a fan of them. But that's maybe not what the audience wants. It can work, as we'll see a few examples later, but this is not what we consider a dark horse or a breakout character. It's not because of popularity, it's because the creator loves them to death, even if the audience doesn't. I've given a few examples. I mentioned Kogia as well, Rolo Lamperouge from Kogia Sin 2. He was met, hated even more. Then they got a little bit of a moment where he got stuff back, but he wasn't very popular. Anyone familiar with the Slayer's Evolution series? Yes. Yeah. Anyone remember that little dick Bakota? He's basically what Kyuubi would if he was smiling half the time. He's basically extremely annoying, but he was all over the place as the main rival of Lena Inverse. He was annoying as hell. I'm not familiar with Inuyasha that much, but there's a character called Sara who's apparently not that popular. I've not seen that much of Inuyasha. The one I have seen though is Suo from Dark and the Black 2. Anyone familiar with Dark and Black? Yeah. How many of you love Hiei from that series? He's the main character from that series. Basically, Hiei was this badass, the nickname for him was Chinese Electric Batman. That is a fair example of what he is. Basically, then season 2, this Russian girl, Suo, comes, and basically they nerf all Hiei's powers to make this girl the main character, and the fans of the original series basically rejected her. Basically, Hiei wanted Hiei for other reasons as well, but again, yaoi fan base and things like that. But it's more the fact that Suo was not a very popular character, but they still forced it on her and trying to push Hiei out the side. It didn't stir into the fans, that's why there's not been a third version. And this is when a popular character can actually be regressed into something. So they can become a dark horse, become more involved, and then what makes them lovable basically turns them back on. Here we got Makoto from Blaze Blue, video game. In the first game, she was a relatively minor character who basically was just doing a few cracky one-liners. She then got more evolved in the second game, although she still wasn't a player character. But she got very popular during that again because she was very jokey and had a good relationship with Noelle and Tsubaki, I think. Yeah, Tsubaki. Then she was put in the third game, and they made her play a character, and she basically became the dreaded Mary Sue. Everyone basically loved her, and even basically she became like a spanner in the works to Hazama. And she basically became extremely powerful. Even in the game, she became top tier. And then they nerfed her incredibly, no one used her. But as I said, the creators actually overdid her. She became a bit of a Mary Sue. In the latest game, they actually recognised that and actually toned down the negative aspects and actually made her have a few weaknesses. So it actually became a bit more interesting. But so there's a few actors. I mentioned Hinata. She's another one that's like this. Because the creators loved her, they threw her in all the fillers. So a lot of people think she was used too much. The original Team Rocket from Pokemon is also an example of this. Anyone like me who grew up with Pokemon loved Team Rocket. Yes. And but the problem was that eventually their shtick got a little bit old. So they then revamped it in Best Wishes. They then became a bit more badass. Yeah. And then they regressed them again. Yeah. I mentioned Sailor Uranus from Sailor Moon as another example. She was popular because of a relationship with Michiru. And it's like in the Outers, they were popular in general, but the problem was that the treatment that she was giving to the 5 Inners, basically fans were a bit meta about, so they turned a bit more... And as I mentioned quickly earlier, pick a country from Italia. Just pick a country.
Prussia.
Yes, there we go, Prussia, good example. Everyone loves Prussia because he's hilarious and he is awesome. But at the same time, some people think his shtick can get overdone, because that is basically his shtick. He's still hilarious, but it's basically a one-trick pony, forgive the French. And of course, when the creators use their powers for good. So basically, if they force them on there, it actually makes the show more popular. I'm not familiar with the Walking Dead TV series or the books. I am, however, familiar with the game. The 2 main characters are Lee and Clementine. How many have played the game? How many love Lee and Clementine? Thank you. Basically, these are main characters that everyone loves. This is actually when it works as main characters actually are more popular, because most of the time they are. But the below example is School Rumble. Anyone familiar with this series? Yes. Okay. Originally, the main romance potential was between Harima, the chap in the middle, and a girl named Tenma, and with also another male character called Karasuma. Basically, Tenma was considered extremely annoying, and Karasuma was, well, basically dead eyes. He was not very interesting. On the other hand, you had this side character, Eri on the right, the blonde girl. She was basically a very popular tsundere character. And she was found a lot more interesting than Tenma. She was also like an Ojo-sama type as well, so it was like it's a world. So this is a different cast. On the left, you have Tenma's little sister, Yakumo, who is like the Yamato Nadesico type character. So you have 2 different dynamics, but they're both attractive girls who both are more interesting than the current main character. So the author actually incorporated a lot more of the story, and this kind of became the love triangle. But Harima, being an idiot, still went after Tenma. So it was like but these 2 got more and more interest, and unfortunately the ending was kind of a bit rushed, so it didn't really finalise quite well. But these were the 3 most popular characters, even though the 2 girls were not considered main characters. This is where it actually worked because the fans wanted this, and the creator gave it them. And it didn't make them too overdone, so they were still extremely popular. I have to give my voice, it's going down already, I'm going like another minute, I do apologise. Okay, so a few other reasons why characters can become dark horses, okay? Here, a trait that can make them more awesome than the main cast in the viewer's eyes. If they're relegated to the background but still involved enough, that you know they are there. Of course, if they do become a lead from that, they evolve into a breakout character. And anything can be a reason for a popular side character. So here you go. Look, as I said, mention characters like Derby Hughes. Design, similar thing. Relationships, if they're a popular option for romance, or whether yaoi, yuri, hetero, etc. Character development, or as I said, just been gone down effing awesome.
Ryder.
Yeah, thank you. Ryder from Fate Zero, perfect example. Here we go, just being awesome. Here's a good example, Jeremiah from Code Geass. Basically, he basically is a character that was very minor in the first season, but basically just got a bit of popularity because he was noted as Orange Kun from Lelouch. And he was like, he basically just became insane from it. He just basically, well, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think it was something like he got Geassed and he was basically kind of like in control and was taking the piss. Second season, he becomes a cyborg. Yeah, so at the end of the first season, he was another character that was supposed to die. But because of basically just how ludicrously awesome he was, the fans basically brought him back to life. And they turned him into a cyborg. And he became also one of Lelouch's right-hand men, so that actually increased his popularity. Actually made him more popular than characters like Suzaku, for example. I think it was him and Callan were the most popular characters, apart from Lelouch himself. Okay, more awesome examples. Here we go. How many familiar with Digimon?
Yeah.
Original series of Digimon. Who didn't love Wizardmon? Everyone loves Wizardmon, yes. Wizardmon wasn't in that much, people tend to forget that, but he's such an integral part of the most popular arc, the Myotismon arc, is that when something happens, I'm not going to spoil it, basically half the fan base cried. It was just like, it was one of these characters, he was a villain, but he was a very good-natured villain. He sided with Gatomon, or one of the other characters. Slight spoiler, Gatomon becomes one of the Digidestined's Digimon, and Wizardmon's basically her right-hand cat. Oh, wow, Wizard. I don't know anymore. But yeah, he's very popular from that. Another example, Saruya, from the Haruhi Suzumiya franchise. is again not considered a part of the SOS Brigade, but she's friggin' insane. And yeah, everyone loves her. She doesn't care what's going on. She just wants to go on Mickey and just hang out with Harry. It's just hilarious. It's just she had got a spin-off series. There was also the whole was it Chiruya? Was it? Yeah, the Neuron, that thing, that smoked cheese meme, which I never got, but everyone seemed to love it. One episode character, but anyone who's seen Cowboy Bebop knows who this is. Yeah, Mad Piero. Basically, he's like the most popular character that isn't one of the main cast of the Bebop. He's in one episode. He's just friggin' awesome. He's a villain who's basically gone insane, and he just basically kicks the shit out of anything. And people feel sorry for him when, well, spoiler, he does die, but he just basically, everyone feels sorry for him because just when you see a bit of his backstory, there's only one episode, and yet they managed to flesh him out so well, despite the fact he's a completely insane bastard, that everyone loves him because he's so friggin' memorable. I said, these are just examples of no real reason, they're just awesome. Okay, awesome alternative. Okay, again, this is basically a replacement for the main character here because their personality could be more interesting or dynamic. Here we have, and I think Dave will appreciate this, this is Hinagiku from Hayate the Combat Butler, who's basically, in the first season, actually had the least airtime. She also ranked like how many votes over everybody else in the first poll. She was like, combined, that was double the votes of the three main characters, and yet she was barely in it. Of course, they then ran away with that and included her in everything after that. But as I say, this will kind of work, because Hinagiku is still extremely popular, even to this day. I believe she's still the number one by a mile, and basically made her skyrocketing, and made her a love interest for Hayate is a lot more plausible than Nagi, because Nagi's 13. Yeah, basically it's a good thing they say it seems like they're going the Lolicon route, they don't. Basically, Hayate's clearly not interesting, thank God, Nagi pisses me off. Okay, but yes, here's a few more examples of alternative awesomeness. Clannad. It's one of my favourite series. Anyone familiar with it? Yeah. Nagi's just quite popularly female, but Tomoyo and Kyo are considered like a lot more interesting. So they're more popular romance interests because they're a bit more badass and sarcastic. Nagi's a lot more of the sweet side character, she's a lot more quieter. Because of their popularity, they actually got one episode OVAs as them being the love interest to Tomoyo. Ranma 1/2.
Yes.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few characters I could pick. I went with Ukyo. Basically as the main potential alternative couple for Ranma because she's not a total bitch to Akane. She is in the manga, but the anime tries to seem to run away with it, and Ryoga's another one. I was including Ryoga too, that they actually boosted their positive traits a bit more, and actually worked a bit more on the anime, except they did a ton of filler, so it kind of ended a bit what I said, but yeah, those are good examples on there. And Fruits Basket. Again, I could have picked a series of characters from this. I went with Momiji. Basically, he's very well liked, and it's just because he's very adorable and innocent. It's just more the fact that he's very good to Toru, and he's very, even when it seems like the interest and love doesn't go away, he doesn't feel like pissed off at the other characters on there. And then a lot of people feel sorry for him, because he's one of the few characters that doesn't get a love interest at the end. Oh, come on. It's like train monkeys in here. Here we go, here's the unique look design part. It doesn't matter what the style of the character is, if they're evil, good, or whatever. If they look awesome, fans will pick up on it. Here I've gone with Bleach. We have, I can't remember, is it Gin or Jin? Gin, sorry. I'm not that familiar with the Bleach, so I do apologise. But I did see the look of him, and I just went, okay, does everyone like him? Why do they like him? He looks badass. Fair enough. Okay, so yes, I've got Gin on there and Hisage. Both of them have got basically very interesting designs. In this case, it's like very unique, because if I remember from Bleach, it's like they don't look that creepy until like halfway through. It's like going through the characters on there. This is a lot more interesting design when they came on there. I mean, Hisagi was apparently designed to be a one-shot character, but because they look cool, not like in a Bishi type sense, they actually included on them because people wanted to know about them, because of how they looked. I've got examples I actually know about more. Here we go. I've gone with video games here for some reason, but yeah. I think most of them will probably recognise the last two. Dragon Age 2. Anyone familiar with that? Yes. Basically, when the second game came out, there was concerns about how the Elven race was basically designed. And examples came out. This was a minor character named Athenril, who basically the design came out, and the fans basically hoped they would all be looking at that. That immediately boosted her popularity, despite being a character that wasn't in it. So people saw this design and they wanted to know more about her. Little Big Planet 2. Anyone familiar with the character here, Clive Hanforth? Yep. Oh, if you don't know him, basically, he's a very sardonic, always down on his luck bits of paper. Yeah, it's a weird game, basically. But you can't hate him. Basically, he's adorable. He basically shouts at all the characters, but like goes in his own corner and sulks. And he also has a lot of like lines that are not uttered by Stephen Fry, best lines in the game. Yeah. And who do we have on the bottom right? Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's. Basically, based on the first game, although now the third game's come out, but he basically is unique. This was another unique design one. Most of the fan art of the game came more for him, even though he's not in it that much. In fact, he's not actually available till the second night. But he's got a lot more fan art than Freddy, and he became easily the most popular character. In fact, there's even a reference in the second game that they actually referenced that Foxy was the most favoured character in it. Right, character development. Right, okay, so here we have Vincent Valentine from Final Fantasy VII. He was actually, if people remember, he was actually an optional character in the game. He wasn't actually supposed to be one of the main characters, you actually had to go recruit him. He's the most popular character that isn't Cloud Tifa or Sephiroth. Because of that, obviously he became more involved in stuff like Advent Children, and of course Dirge of Cerberus, although I like to pretend that game never existed. But the actual development was actually pretty well, actually the story was well received, just the game not so much. But yeah, Vincent, basically, side character, he's actually an optional character, but he easily became more popular because the design helped, but then they gave him more character development, which actually made him more popular. A few more examples, here we go. I hate Rosario Vampiro with a passion, but even I have to admit that Missouri was actually one of the more interesting characters, because Missouri actually resonated very similar to anime fans in general. It's more like she got a character, how should I put this? It's more like the fact that she got more development because lonely, a bit trying to help out, but seems like going on it. It's just the fact that the second season of Rosario had so much fan service, I had to go to a pen to see if the boobs were actually real. Trying to pop on there, but it's just didn't work. I didn't like it that much, but at least she actually made it a bit more interesting. Old school fans, we have Space Battle Yamato here. We have Shiro Sanada. He actually wasn't expected to be a major character on here. He's going to be killed, another one of these characters because he's one of the older characters, but he got a lot more development in the early series, and fans wanted to keep him on. So he actually got involved in the more recent installment, Resurrection, because he continued on from the main series to on here. Sorry, I was good amount of minutes to watch this. Breathe. Okay. And last one is Kyoko from Madoka. I think most of us are hoping familiar with this one. Again, there's a lot. Mami I could have picked as well. I went with Kyoko though because she's unique. She was actually all in it for herself. She didn't have any rules or stages or wishes. She was just basically, I'm in for myself, bitch. I want all the food. It's just I love the moment. There's one moment in particular that she just chokes Sayaka because she's wasting food. You have this really depressing story, and her main reason to get pissy, you just dropped an apple, bitch. So yeah, but she got more developed in the CDs, the side stories, and you hear she gets a relation with Mami, if I remember, and there's actually a bit of background, obviously, later before the inevitable happens on there. Okay. Legs on Fire, they just make you laugh. Doesn't matter what they are, they just make you smile. I'm using Blaze Blue again, but familiar with that Bang Shishigami? Shishigami Bang! Yes. Remember, those who are familiar with the first game, he was basically a joke character. If you beat that character using Bang, they just all protect the opponent, just basically, yeah, I'll just let him win, I can't be asked to do with him. His role was basically to try and find Jin because of his issues with the Karuga, but because of how popular he was, because he was hilarious, he got more involved, and in the latest game, I can't pronounce it, Phantasma, is it? Something like that? Phantasma. Thank you very much, okay? He's basically one of the main characters. He's basically one of the reasons how the good guys win. It's basically from, ha ha ha, we don't care about you. Oh wait, the fans care about me. You're going to make me part of the game. Oh, they will make slowly part. They still like him. Okay, let's even try this. Hannah. No, they still really like him. Okay, we'll make him a main character. Fine, you got your way, you sons of bitches.
Hooray.
Okay. A few more comic relief characters. Sasha from Attack on Titan. One of the characters I really like from this series. Okay, she suffers a hell of a lot like pretty much any lead in Attack on Titan does. She's also obsessed with potatoes. Yeah, she got a fan base, basically a food obsession, basically just made her lovable on hell. I mean, even these dark series. The second one here is Matsuda from Death Note. Yeah, everyone loves Matsuda. You've got all these serious cops, you have L and Light basically fighting off, and you have Matsuda being a dunce. Everyone loves the dunce, but he gets development throughout that, because there's the infamous part where he nearly gets caught by the bad guys, and then he does a bit, with help with L, admittedly, but he does a little bit of a badass moment, which basically cements his Dark Horse status. And of course, by the end of the series, he's still the one that's following lights throughout the entire series, and then the end of the series, bang, does that boy snap. And the fans loved it. I've also picked this series, I'm not sure you'd be too familiar with this, but it's a perfect example of just got all this angst and then this character just making you laugh. This is Chikaru from a Yuri anime called Strawberry Panic.
Yeah.
Anyone familiar?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Basically, there are 3 schools. You have Angsty School number 1, you have Angsty School number 2, and you have this girl doing puppets. Yeah, basically, I put it down: angst, love torn, vamps, plotting, arguing. Chikaru has no relevance to the plot, no relevance to any of the love interests. She dresses her girls in cosplay. She does puppet shows. And she basically, in the last episode, dresses up as Santa Claus to get first seats in the Twilight election. I'm not even joking, you go look it up. And that's why she's easily the most popular character, because she's just ridiculously over the top, and everyone loves her because she's not an angsty bitch. Okay. There's many more reasons for a dark horse, okay? There's one different to expand on it. So, as I said, all these examples combine to one, as long as you're not what's called a creator's pet, okay? So creator's pet extended can become popular, but that's usually due to the creator's will, and they will try to force it down your throat and say, we love me bitches. Think of it as what I call, if there's any wrestling fans, Triple H syndrome. So basically just force them to say, fine, then we have to accept it, damn it. But when this happens, they'll either just keep their role as a popular side character who will occasionally be relevant, or put them as a main focus, as they can be led to be overused or becoming a base breaker. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that. So, anyone have any quick questions before I go into my favourite characters and give as examples and why? No, that's good, because we haven't got much time anyway. Okay, so just quickly say, this is basically a good example of the other main 6 from MLP Friendship is Magic. These are characters that barely do anything, because their designs, everyone loves them anyway. So here's, well, I've done top 11s and rip off the nostalgia critic, but basically top 10 knuckles. There's about 1 million others. I mean, I could have picked so many, for example, but characters like Charlotte from Infinite Stratus I nearly put down on there. But the other ones are a bit more well known. There's a few examples that are a bit more obscure, but I'm going to start with my very first one. Number 11, the one-off characters from Pokemon. Yes. Okay, this is basically how I got involved with all the side characters, because as much as I did enjoy Ash, Misty, and Brock, yeah, it kind of got redundant over there, and Ash kind of pissed me off a lot of the time. And of course, as I said, they go into town to town to town, and they meet a lot of characters. There's a lot of one-offs on here, but I've just picked a few on here, and why I like them. These ones I remember on this, and this is like 15 years now, I think, from when I first seen these. Top left, I wonder how many remember these. That's Susie. Yeah. Okay, she was the character that gave Brock Vulpix. Okay. She was quite popular because she was a rare woman that Brock was obviously interested in, but it was more of a respect level rather than immediately hearts in the eyes, get dragged away by Misty by the ear. So she was attractive lass and she was very kind-hearted, but she actually was more of interest as, for fanfic writers like me at the time, okay, this is actually someone that could work. She's a bit older than Brock, but wait a few years, and Brock actually might not be a douchebag about it. Unfortunately, as we all know, it didn't quite work. But Susie did reappear in a second episode, and when Vulpix actually returned back to her. So she actually got enough popularity for a second episode. The character on the top right, AJ, he was a Sandshoe trainer. Anyone remember him? Yeah. He was a bit different. He was basically a bit of a badass character. It seemed like he was a typical villain type Pokemon abuser, but he was one that he kind of like shut Ash up, and that's what a lot of people liked. He was also voiced by the late Maddie Blightstone, the original voice of Meowth, who unfortunately died. So he's also got a lot of pseudo popularity because of that. The bottom character, does anyone remember the infamous Team Rocket piss take? Yeah, this is actually my favourite of the one-offs. Her name's Duplica. She actually was based on a character in the game. I think it was called, who was it? Can anyone help me? There was a character, she was a character that was actually based, but she was a Ditto trainer. Okay, and basically, it was not Gary, it was her that initially gave her the official Sato-chan in Japanese, or Ashi Boy nickname. And everyone just took the piss out of that from there, said, okay, I like this girl, she's got sass. She was also extremely comic and able to transform into any character, which gave fanfiction ideas a lot of interesting possibilities. She was also a popular choice outside of Misty as a romance option, surprisingly. She's actually quite popular in that regard. Other characters I decided to pick as well. Casey, who was an Electabuzz fan. Yeah. She was originally a Chikorita trainer and then was very based on Yellow and Stripe Pokemon, that was it, yeah. Duplica actually got a second episode, so did Casey. In fact, she was actually involved in a little mini-series, if I remember, as well, along with another character named Richie, who I despise, but he's quite popular anyway. Anyone remember a character called Giselle in the early seasons?
Oh.
She was a Cubone trainer.
Yes.
She basically was well known for basically being very bitchy, but also beating Missy's ass with a graveler against her star-mate.
That wouldn't
It wouldn't happen in real life, but everyone thought that she was basically very unique. She was bitchy, attractive, and hilarious at the same time. The most popular gym leader at the time was easily Sabrina.
Yes.
Sabrina basically had like, was it 2 or 3 episodes, and it was basically also like the infamous Haunter arc, where a Haunter was basically being a troll to Ash throughout the entire episode. She was also incredibly creepy as well, and basically made, again, rather unique in the gym leaders. So now, proper top 10s. Okay, I just got one more. TK from Angel Beats. Yes. Basically, there is 10 more after this, but I had to include TK. He basically does nothing but spout English phrases. He's hilarious. Basically, he does barely anything for the group, but he's easily my favourite character. He's just not relevant to the plot, but look at him, and basically, all that on the right, this is everything he says. I'm not joking. I'll be back, knocking on heaven's door. Hey yo, check this out. And it's all in English. It's a moonwalk, it's a ward, head spin! And he does spin on his head. This is just a few words of wisdom from TK's mouth, usually while dancing or kicking ass. He is awesome. Yeah, he also basically has the spirit of Michael Jackson in him for some reason with his moonwalking. Alright, now proper top 10. Right. Momoko from Saki. I'm not sure I'm familiar with the show. This is a mahjong anime with a lot of cute girls, basically. This is one of my guilty pleasure animes, okay? It's a mo show about learning mahjong. Momo is literally invisible. She, basically, no one can see her, but basically she just wants a friend. Ha 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 ha. She was considered a villain character because she was one of the characters on the opposite team for the lead. As everyone's wondering, oh, is she going to be the bad guy? She's hidden in the shadows. She's revealed. She's got a tragic backstory. She's adorable. I can't hate her. And basically, fans picked up on that, and so did the creators, and basically, in like a filler arc, they made her as the biggest threat to Saki in the actual main series. Her popularity skyrocketed, basically, for an appearance in the series, and also in the sequel series as well. She was actually a lot more involved in people. She was the first member of the Saruka team on there. Even though she's not actually the captain, she's still easily focused. And when you watch the episode, you want to give her a hug. Trust me on this. As I said, on here, we also got, she's got a very unique look with the character with these actual stray bands. It looks like she's basically crying blood, but she's actually got stray bands on there. So here we go, unique look, check. Side character from an antagonist team, check. Surprising sad backstory, check. Potentially in love with her female captain. That got the Yuri fans happy, check. Surprisingly badass when she could be, check. Und mit. Here's the one you're probably more familiar with. I like to troll. Yes, Excalibur from Soul Eater. Basically, he wasn't, if I remember, he wasn't really in the manga, was he? Yeah, and then basically, he was mostly, what's that?
He's in the manga.
Oh, yeah, I think he's in later.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's not in the very beginning. Basically, was he one the anime created him, and then did the manga basically go the way around?
He's in the manga.
Alright, okay, I got that bit wrong, I apologise, but thank you. Just how much I've watched Soul Eater recently, but when I watched it, I just remember this guy being, he's an arse, he's a douche. He sprouts incredibly hilarious things. I can't hate him. Yeah, he's deliberately annoying, but when you see what he's talking, it's just like, this guy's way more interesting than the lead. I don't care, it's hilarious. There's that one episode where someone actually does take him as a sword, and he actually goes through every single rule and tries, and then he annoys him just by sneezing. It's just like, he has all these rules. I can't remember how many it is, like a million rules. And it's like to wield him, but he's like a +1 power-up sword. He is legitimately badass. You wield him, you will win with him. And he's just like, yeah. So he's annoyed by sneezing after all this. Just watch the episode, trust me. And it's also his infamous song and catchphrase. Yeah, back off, fool. My legend started in the 12th century. I sing my theme song, and I'm not going to do it because I can't remember it. Sadly, can someone do it? Excalibur, Excalibur. I'm from the United Kingdom. I'm on my way to California. Yeah, basically his theme song and music. Fool, my legend started in the 12th century. Sing my theme song, learn all my rules, now you can wheel me. Now repeat ad nauseam. How am I not annoying? Because fool. There he goes. Yeah, I've actually put him as he's one of those characters that got more evolved, even though he's basically an annoying side character. He got very popular because of that. Number 8 is Hideyoshi from Back in the Test. Yes. Anyone who's seen this will know. Anyone who sees Hideyoshi, they will question their sexuality. There is Traps, and there is Hideyoshi. There is in an episode to prove this. You have a boys' room, you have a girl's room, and you have a room for Hideyoshi. Basically, that's it. His popularity, as you probably guessed, is because of his looks initially. They actually then gave him some character development, but not as much as the leads, and yet he's easily still the most powerful character in the show. He's the one nice character on there, whilst everyone's a bit more, douchey type thing. He kind of stays the same. He's just very attractive. His popularity became so high, this is no joke, non-Yaoi fans wanted to pair him up with Akisa. I'm not joking, he's by far the most popular love interest for the main lead. Yes, this is a guy, I keep pretending this is a guy. All heterosexual males out there, question your sexuality right about now.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, there we go. Number 7, Oscar from Rose of Versailles. Right. Everyone probably think, where am I going? She's a main character. Wrong. She was supposed to be Marie Antoinette, was supposed to be the lead for this series. Then Oscar basically eclipsed the popularity. And Oscar's not part of the actual revolution. She's not a character revolved from history. This is a character created for the series. This is based on the French Revolution. Oscar was just so much popular for being a female character who looks like a male, who's absolutely badass and kicks anybody's ass, male, female, or donkey. Very unique look. As I said, considered an interesting relations with both male and female characters, including with Marie Antoinette. And she's one of those characters where, even both anime and in the manga, they basically was going to revolve it into a net story. Everyone loved Oscar, so basically they forgot the history part, well they didn't, but basically continued the art, but they put that to the side, and just continued on developing Oscar for the entire manga. It just basically, people will think she's actually a main character because she's pretty much in it from the start, but she was designed to be a side character, and it was going to involve Marie Antoinette's story, and basically didn't happen. Here we go, Lan Fan from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and the manga of course as well. This is a character who's basically the side ninja character of Ling. Ling. It's again, it's another character that's voiced by Nana Mizzou, which helps out with the popularity. But she's basically another character that's incredibly badass and considered by fans more badass than Ed, because of when spoiler alert, she loses her arm, and basically she goes through the process of getting an automail in half the time of Ed or something like that. It was like just 6 months or something like that. And her reappearance is one of those badass things I remember from Alchemist. Basically, I think it's Ed, Ling, Reedling, and a couple of Chimera, I think. And they're about to be devoured by gluttony. Cube Ninja running across the trees, spanning up, slicing. Head off. Lan Fan reappears completely badass. It is one of those scenes I can still remember. I love this on there. She's also, looks at the top, basically a badass supporter, then you take her mask off and she looks adorable. So it's like a combination of badass and adorable. Good design, good character development, and basically complete awesomeness. Here we go, Sailor Saturn from the Sailor Moon series. She's not in it much. You wouldn't think that with fanfiction and fan art around. Basically, she is the least seen of the Senshi, and it's easily perhaps one, she's not the most popular. I'd say Moon and Mercury are the top 2 if I remember. But I think she's like 3rd or 4th. And it's like, you don't have, is there a transformation sequence actually in the anime?
No.
And as I was about to say, I can't even remember. She doesn't even have a transformations. Yet she's still easily one of the more characters because of her backstory in this case. It's really sad. I mean, the manga backstory is different from the anime. Jeff, I think you can elaborate a little bit better than I can with this.
Yeah, and basically our family died in an alarm explosion, her dad got possessed, and she got turned into a flipping cyborg.
Yeah, doesn't happen in the anime, although she's still badass in the Black Lady are, but yeah, the manga one is even better. So yeah, I said manga, holy shit, she's a cyborg, yeah. And I thought one other good point, she's actually one of those few characters that makes Chibiusa not hateable. That is an achievement in itself. But yeah, the Mistress 9 act is basically what I like about it in the original anime, and the manga basically just like, holy shice. Right, this one I've included as one of my personal favourites, Rosetta from Kaleido Star. I'm not going to go too much in this one because this is one I'm not sure that many are familiar with, but this is one of my favourite series. Oh yes, there we go, it's awesome. It's a very sad, she got a likeable voice. She's a character who's only designed to be in one episode, and her relationship with Sora basically went, yeah, I think we were going to put her in a bit more. She kind of works out there. It's basically, they put her in not enough to make her a complete breakout character, but just enough for the fans to continue loving her. And because of that, she actually got an OVA episode. So, one episode character, continued on, and actually became one of the most popular characters in the series. Here's a more familiar one. Kaoru from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Or, as my friend Beth calls, Shinji's boyfriend. She doesn't know his name, she's just Shinji's boyfriend. Basically, you'd think he was a main character for all the Merc and advertising there is in Japan. He's in one episode in the original series. And then they decided to evolve him into basically one of the main characters in the new movies and in the manga as well. He's a lot more involved in there, and all the spin-offs as well. In fact, he pretty much is the yaoi guy to Shinji in pretty much all the spin-off mangas. But yeah, a similar type of thing with Hideyoshi. A lot of fans, even non-yaoi fans, would prefer to pair him up than Asuka or Rei. This is not even joking, yeah. It's pretty, yeah, it's basically, yeah, when you consider the options. And people don't forget, he's technically a bad guy. Yeah, again, you wouldn't know that from all the stuff in Japan. It's just like ridiculous. That's why it's one episode, 15 minutes, villain to Shinji. He's also a character that actually seems to genuinely like Shinji and not make him a total wuss. It's basically, it doesn't make him a screw up unless he has to kill him, then he's screwed up, yeah, end of Evangelion. And yes, he's actually considered a nice character even though he's a villain. But yes, I'm roaring on because we've got to finish by one, so sorry about this guys. Ruri and Guy from the Desco. Okay, I tied these both together because I like them both for different reasons, and they're different reasons on there. Ruri's basically technically a side character. Again, you would not know that from any of the Desco merchandise you'd think on there. She's kind of like the lolly character, but she's kind of like on the side similar to Rei, except a lot more sardonic. She's basically what we call deadpan snarker. She's basically in a ship full of idiots, and she's the only intelligent person. Combined with her very attractive and adorable looks, is basically a combination of snark, sarcasm, general heart moments, a few good story developments, and at one point, when she aired in 1998, she became the most popular character in Japan, even ahead of Rei from Evangelion. The movie then came out and derailed her a bit, because basically she was all over the place, and it came, yeah. Which is why I've also included Gai Daigoji. Yes. Sorry, Jiro Yamada. Gai Daigoji, damn it! His real name is Jiro Yamada, but no one knows him. They all know him as Gai Daigoji. He basically, in it for a few episodes, something happens to him, everyone knows what happens to him, but yeah, he dies. But then the thing, yes, it's more the fact that everyone remembers him because he comes like a spirit from here, and he's just so badass and so hilarious. He's basically a mecha otaku. He joined the Nadesco so he could pilot giant robots. He was basically becoming a Gundam. And fans had done it with him before. He was absolutely hilarious. Who's my favourite? Noriko from Fushigi Yugi. Anyone familiar with this series? Yeah. Good, yes. But though, again, similar, he's easily the most popular character in the show, ahead of Tamahomi and Miyaka by far. He was one of the first sympathetic homosexual characters in anime. People loved that because it was like something, it was a change on there. They were actually upset when they tried to hint that he might be bisexual. Because they actually built him up so well, when they tried to think in a bit more safe side, people actually were upset because they really liked him how it happened. He's a cross-dresser, comic relief character has super strength. And basically just makes him sound, he's badass, he's hilarious, he's also a good friend to pretty much all the Suzaku 7, extremely likeable, not the main focus, so he's not considered the main character, but he's also very well helped on there in terms of teaching with Tamahobi. And during the series, when a major event happens, people just like, this is one of my biggest it's like one of the biggest tearjerker moments in the series. Fortunately, things do change and things get a lot better, but at the same time, it's one of those things that you will remember if you see it. Oh yeah, and that is a guy. Again, I have to remind people that he's actually a guy. Badass, likeable, character development, unit look, comic relief. Too much on it, he's my perfect Dark Horse character. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a good night. I'll hopefully see you around time. I'm 5 minutes late, so I better hurry before this. Thank you very much, guys.